For years, the Hollywood star system built a fantasy, flawless icons who seemed to exist in a world above ordinary mortals. Their smiles flashed from glossy covers, their voices spilled from radios like velvet, and their faces loomed larger than life on silver screens across the globe. But what if I told you that behind those perfect teeth and fancy tuxedos were some of the nastiest hygiene habits you could imagine? What if the same stars you admired from afar repulsed the co-stars forced to stand next to them? The truth about old Hollywood's elite isn't just unsettling. It might permanently mess with how you see your favorite classics. From rotten mouths to legendary stench, here are the 15 Golden Age Hollywood stars with shockingly bad hygiene. Number 15, Howard Hughes. Howard, the aviation tycoon and film mogul who romanced countless Hollywood starlets, had a deeply strange relationship with hygiene. Early in his career, Hughes was admired for his sharp features and impeccable grooming. But as he aged, his lifelong obsessive-compulsive disorder escalated from an oddity into a crippling condition that completely derailed his hygiene. In later years, he developed an intense phobia of germs that triggered increasingly bizarre rituals. He wore tissue boxes on his feet instead of shoes, let his nails and hair grow to unsettling lengths, and went unbathed for months. The once charming bachelor turned into a shut-in, naked in a darkened hotel room, surrounded by jars of his own urine. Yet, ironically, Hughes maintained sky-high standards for the women he dated. According to Full Service by Scotty Bowers, even a tiny blemish on a woman's face made her untouchable. The contrast was stark. Absolute filth for himself, impossible perfection for others. Hollywood hypocrisy in its 100% purest form. Number 14, Clark Gable. Well, no one likes bad breath, but let's talk about a man whose very name still conjures images of timeless charm. Clark Gable, the undisputed king of Hollywood, whose charisma and classic looks made him a top leading man for over 3 decades. As Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind, he delivered one of cinema's most iconic lines. But when Gable smiled on screen, women swooned. If they'd gotten closer, they might have gagged. By 32, Gable already had nearly a full set of dentures. Not a few crowns. I mean, almost every tooth was gone. Dental care in the early 1900s was super brutal, and Gable suffered from pyorrhea, now called periodontitis, which is a severe gum disease. In 1933, his teeth were so damaged, his dentist removed nearly all of them. He was hospitalized, then quietly recovered in Canada. His dentures were clunky and loose, causing legendary halitosis. Co-stars like Sophia Loren dreaded kissing scenes. Gable refused mints or rinses, claiming they ruined his acting. By the Misfits, his breath hit before he did. Number 13, Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe, the ultimate sex symbol, the blonde bombshell whose image defined an era, lived with hygiene habits that clashed hard with her polished public persona. Multiple sources, including her Misfits co-star Clark Gable, claimed Monroe was alarmingly lax about personal cleanliness. Though she glowed on-screen, off-screen, she reportedly avoided bathing, skipped underwear, and neglected basic hygiene. Author David Brett, in his Clark Gable biography, said Gable, famously obsessed with cleanliness, found Monroe's hygiene habits revolting and had zero romantic interest in her, despite rumors. According to Brett, she could go days without bathing and never use deodorant. This contradiction between Monroe's image and her real-life habits highlighted the massive gap between studio-crafted glamour and reality. Makeup artist Alan Whitey Snyder, who worked closely with her, used special tricks to maintain her radiant look even when she skipped showers. He kept baby wipes and heavy-duty powder on hand for quick fixes. Wardrobe staff later admitted her costumes often bore the truth. Her close-ups never did. Number 12, Elvis Presley. By the 1960s, as the old studio system crumbled and new Hollywood took shape, stars were granted more freedom, including the freedom to let personal quirks show. Elvis Presley, whose shift from music to movies made him one of the decade's most bankable stars, brought his own hygiene issues to the screen. While Presley was meticulous about his hair, famously styled with thick pomade and jet black dye, his dental hygiene crumbled. As his use of prescription drugs increased, his teeth became noticeably discolored, and his breath developed a reputation for being downright foul. Actress Marianne Mobley, his co-star in Girl Happy, 1965, later revealed that kissing Elvis was far less dreamy than fans imagined. The contrast was striking. Hours spent on his hair, but basic oral care was neglected. As his drug dependency worsened, he often forgot to brush altogether. During Paradise Hawaiian Style, 1966, co-star Susanna Lee had to fake kiss him while breathing through her mouth. Well, now, this is a new thing under the sun. Number 11. Marlon Brando. Marlon, whose raw performances in A Streetcar Named Desire and On the Waterfront reshaped acting forever, also became infamous for his overpowering stench. As his weight ballooned and his mental state declined, Brando's disregard for hygiene grew worse. Co-stars often said he wouldn't bathe or use deodorant. By Apocalypse Now in the late 70s, his hygiene had collapsed completely. Director Francis Ford Coppola had to navigate both Brando's creative eccentricities and his unbearable odor. The man once labeled Hollywood's sexiest rebel now reeked of defiance, literally. What made it striking was that his poor hygiene wasn't entirely neglected. It was rebellion. He rejected Hollywood's polish in every way. Even during A Streetcar Named Desire, director Elia Kazan had to beg him to wash more often. Vivien Leigh, his co-star, was reportedly disturbed by his body odor during intimate scenes. The infamous Stella scene in a sweat-soaked t-shirt wasn't fake. That was Brando, sweaty, pungent, and unapologetically raw. Number 10. Joan Crawford. Behind the iconic lips, Joan Crawford, whose intense ambition and striking bone structure made her one of the most recognizable stars of her time, carried a dental history nearly as painful as Gable's. Like many Hollywood elites chasing aesthetic perfection, Crawford underwent dental procedures meant to enhance her cheekbones. Following Marlene Dietrich's lead, she had multiple molars extracted to create dramatic hollows. The fallout was brutal. Her front teeth began to drift apart. Dentists filled the gaps with cement, then shaved them down for caps. The pain was unimaginable, and it triggered chronic gum infections. Her mouth swelled, leaving her with a permanently enlarged upper lip, a signature look born from botched dentistry. In her late 60s, she required invasive dental surgery so severe it demanded 24/7 medical supervision. Despite her obsession with grooming, scrubbing her hands raw, obsessing over posture and spotless homes, her mouth remained a long-term issue. All right, guys, now let's talk about Number 9. James Dean. James was the brooding rebel whose short career cemented his legacy. He reportedly used poor hygiene as a personal protest against Hollywood polish. He bathed inconsistently, often wore the same clothes for days, and resisted efforts to change. During Rebel Without a Cause, director Nicholas Ray had to address complaints from crew members about Dean's smell. Natalie Wood found filming love scenes with him uncomfortable due to his unwashed condition. Like Gable before him, Dean's co-stars were often forced to act through their discomfort. Friends from his early New York years recalled his rundown apartment had no hot water, which might explain some habits. But after finding fame, he kept the same unkempt ways. Director Elia Kazan noted Dean cultivated an earthy rawness, but even Kazan had to talk to him about hygiene during East of Eden. Julie Harris remembered Dean wearing the same red socks for weeks and refusing to clean his leather jacket, believing the grime added character. Number 8. Elizabeth Taylor. Elizabeth, known for her violet eyes and timeless beauty, remained one of Hollywood's most photographed women. But behind her immaculate image, especially during the chaos of her relationship with Richard Burton, her private hygiene reportedly became erratic. While filming Cleopatra, 1963, one of Hollywood's most expensive productions, the Italian crew privately complained that American hygiene fell short. A makeup artist who worked with Taylor throughout the 60s recalled that her bathing habits were directly linked to her emotional state. When happy and in love, she groomed obsessively. During depressive spells or relationship drama, she might go days without bathing, masking it with perfume and powder. Director Joseph Mankiewicz reportedly developed a tactful strategy, having an assistant casually mention that a hot bath had been drawn in her trailer. Taylor usually took the hint. Her grooming rituals weren't lazy, they fluctuated with her mental health. Publicly flawless, privately fragile. Number 7. Judy Garland. Judy Garland's well-documented battles with mental illness, addiction, and relentless studio pressure also impacted her personal hygiene in serious ways. During her career, she went through periods where bathing and grooming became difficult to maintain. From her early MGM years, she was pumped full of amphetamines to keep her working and sedatives to help her sleep, setting the stage for lifelong instability. Makeup artists on The Wizard of Oz noticed that despite being only 16, her skin already showed signs of heavy chemical use. As her addictions worsened, Garland's appearance deteriorated. MGM staff struggled to keep up with her fluctuating weight and inconsistent hygiene. During A Star is Born, her husband, Sid Luft, hired someone to ensure she bathed regularly. On stable days, she was polished and radiant. On others, she'd show up unwashed, breath sour from booze and cigarettes. Her hygiene was never laziness. It was a reflection of deep internal chaos, made worse by a system that fed it. Number 6. Errol Flynn. Errol, the swashbuckling actor whose charisma made him one of Warner Bros.' Top stars during the 1930s and 40s looked every bit the romantic hero on screen. His athletic build and sly grin lit up films like Captain Blood, 1935, and The Adventures of Robin Hood, 1938. But his off-screen habits? A different story. Known for womanizing and binge drinking, Flynn's personal hygiene suffered as his vices escalated. Heavy alcohol intake led to overpowering body odor and breath. Colleagues said he sweated booze, and by midday, the smell was hard to ignore. Flynn also wore the same clothes for days, often sleeping in them. As his addiction worsened in the 1940s, his hygiene declined visibly. Warner Brothers costume notes discreetly referenced cleaning his wardrobe more frequently. One supervisor added hidden removable panels to his costumes to absorb odor, usually only done for stunt wear. Olivia de Havilland, his frequent co-star, reportedly handled it gently, offering him mouthwash from her dressing room before close-up scenes. Number 5. Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin may have blurred the line between screen and reality more than fans realized. His tattered costume and unwashed charm defined his on-screen persona, but behind the scenes, things weren't much different. Lita Gray, Chaplin's second wife, married when she was 16 and he 35, claimed in divorce papers that his hygiene was consistently poor. While some accusations were likely exaggerated, other colleagues confirmed that when Chaplin was deeply engrossed in a project, he often neglected to bathe. Studio executives had little power to push back. Chaplin was irreplaceable. Despite this, when attending premieres or public events, he always appeared polished, a sharp contrast to his work mode state. By the 1940s, as political controversies clouded his public image, mentions of his hygiene faded. Whether he improved or simply slipped out of scrutiny is unclear. What's certain is that Chaplin was not a very good guy at all. Number 4. Montgomery Clift. Clift was beautiful, haunted eyes, delicate features, Everything Hollywood wanted. Until 1956. One car crash changed everything. He left Elizabeth Taylor's dinner, swerved into a pole, and wrecked his face. After surgery, he kept acting, but inside, something broke. Painkillers, booze, depression, all of it ate away at him, and it showed. On the Misfits set, the crew whispered about his smell, his wrinkled clothes. He'd show up in shirts he hadn't changed for days. He stopped shaving, stopped caring. Makeup artists didn't just cover scars, they had to scrub him clean. Houston, the director, handled him gently. Elizabeth Taylor stayed loyal, even hiring assistants to help him stay groomed. She knew he wasn't just difficult, he was hurting. Before the crash, he was sharp and elegant. After, hygiene wasn't a choice he ignored. It became something he couldn't manage. His body and spirit were both in decline, and nobody around him missed it. Number 3. Rita Hayworth. Rita Hayworth looked flawless on screen. In Gilda, she was all fire and elegance. But behind the camera, things weren't so glamorous. Born Margarita Cancino, she was told by studio execs that her Spanish features weren't marketable. So Columbia forced her through a brutal transformation. One of the worst? A year-long electrolysis procedure to raise her hairline by an inch. It was painful, left her scalp scarred, and caused a permanent condition, seborrheic dermatitis. Her scalp constantly itched, flaked, and oozed. The red hair? Not natural. Harsh dyes only made things worse. Makeup teams spent hours hiding the damage with powders and restyling her hair mid-shoot. The public saw perfection. The crew saw a woman quietly suffering for it. Her then-husband, Orson Welles, would later talk about how hard it was for her. She was a studio-made icon, but the cost? Her scalp never stopped paying for it. Anyway, she was cute. Number 2. Tallulah Bankhead. Tallulah Bankhead didn't just break rules, she laughed at them. She drank hard, swore harder, and lived like bathing was optional. Her voice, gravel and bourbon. Her parties were legendary. Her hygiene was unapologetically awful. She'd go days without showering during a show run, saying it dried her skin. But truthfully, she just didn't care. While other stars masked their flaws, Tallulah flaunted them. "I'm as pure as the driven slush," she famously said, and she meant it. She didn't see dirt as a problem. It was part of the act. By the time she filmed Die, My Darling in 1965, co-star Stephanie Powers described working with her as a multi-sensory experience. She reeked, but stole every scene anyway. For Bankhead, bathing was just another social rule made to be ignored. She was wild, loud, and completely herself. Number 1. Humphrey Bogart. Bogart defined rugged masculinity for a generation, but co-stars who worked closely with him dealt with something audiences never saw, his legendarily bad breath. Caused by relentless chain-smoking, constant drinking, and poor dental care, Bogart's breath was a known issue. He smoked up to 3 packs a day and rarely brushed, a combination that made romantic scenes less than ideal. Lauren Bacall, who later became his wife, seemed immune. But not everyone was. Ingrid Bergman, his Casablanca co-star, reportedly asked director Michael Curtis to reduce close-up scenes with Bogart due to the odor. During The African Queen, 1951, shot in humid conditions, both Bogart and Katharine Hepburn's smoking created what Hepburn later described as an aromatic ordeal. Director John Huston laughed it off. Bogart, reportedly aware of the issue, never tried to fix it. For him, it was just part of who he was, and no one dared tell him otherwise. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.